This video is part 2 of a 3-part series of layouts exhibited at the Perth Model Railway Show, which took place in June 2019. If you are interested in model railway exhibition layouts, their description, construction and how they are run, start now and become a subscriber. Hit the bell icon to be notified when a new video is published. This layout is Karolina Falls, modelled in N-gauge and exhibited by David Bailey. This layout models a private family-owned railroad in North America, originally constructed in the 19th century to help in gold mining. Logging and tourism followed, and recently a new vein of gold has been discovered. Karolina features a real waterfall cascading into the ravine below. The layout is a basic oval on 4 boards with a passing loop in the station area and a 5-track traverser in the fiddle yard. Track used is Pico with seep and gauge master electrics. The layout appeared in Continental Modeler in 2014. Here you can view the O-gauge layout. Le Treport, exhibited by John and Peter Smith. is a real town just inland from the resort and port of Le Treport, but there was never a loco shed there. It was used as a plausible base for the layout, so a wide range of SNCF motive power from the 1950s could be displayed. The layout features an SNCF shed in the mid-1950s, based around Le Treport in France. The layout is O-gauge fine scale and uses lens DCC for control. It is 22 foot long by 3 foot wide, built on a slight curve to make it more interesting. Here you can view the ON30 scale model Mariana Mesa, exhibited by Thistle Model Makers. Mariana Mesa is a small town in an arid area of western United States during the 1930s and 40s, which has been served by a station since the line was built. The area is not prosperous and some people still rely on horse-drawn transport, but the automobile has already made its presence felt in the region. The railroad continues to provide the community with a regular passenger and freight service, and there is a small engine shed providing work for some. It is a narrow gauge line, a type often built in places where access to difficult locations and a requirement for minimised building cost rule out the construction of standard gauge track. The layout is ON30 scale, O scale but using HO00 track. It is DCC powered and the points are operated using Merg C-bus control. The rolling stock is mainly Bachmann, with some MMI and precision scale stock as well. Here you can view the N-gauge layout Stanley Junction, exhibited by East Kilbride Model Railway Club. This is the club's new N-gauge layout, which is based on Stanley Junction, about 8 miles north of Perth, on what was the Caledonian Railway's main line from Perth to Aberdeen via Forfar. It was an important junction where the Highland Railway main line to Inverness began. This N-gauge model shows the unusual track layout before the Caledonian line was partially closed in 1967 and then used only for freight as far as Forfar. It closed completely in 1982, leaving only the connection to the Highland line. This N-gauge layout is Elgin, exhibited by Edward Burt. Elgin was originally served by both the Highland Railway and the Great North of Scotland Railway. The Highland station has largely been rebuilt as the current ScotRail station on the Aberdeen to Inverness line. The old Great North of Scotland station buildings survived alongside the freight yard, which during the 1980s, when the model is set, had services for timber, whisky, LP gas and MOD stores for nearby RAF Lossiemouth. This was the era of BR Blue and large logo diesels, although some of the sector liveries were starting to appear. All stock and train formations are based on photographic evidence of that running in the mid-1980s, which meant scratch building and modifying stock accordingly. Track work is Pico Code 55, and most stock is fitted with Micro Trains magnetic uncouplers to enable some shunting to take place in the freight yard. This 00 gauge layout is Crawton, exhibited by Perth Model Railway Society. Crawton is the first layout built by a small group of individuals, specifically for exhibitions. When the main line was constructed from Montrose to Stonehaven and Aberdeen, it took an inland route, leaving the Montrose to Inverbervie line as a stub with a gap to Stonehaven. For the purposes of the model, it has been assumed that the Inverbervie to Stonehaven line was completed. Crawton is an actual town midway between the two places. Crawton is modelled to show just the north end of Crawton Station and the loop, with tracks merging into a single line to pass over a viaduct over the River Bervie on its way to Stonehaven. Track work is hand-built C&L on wooden sleepers with tortoise point motors. Signals are dapole with the motors replaced by model aircraft servos, the station being from the Bachmann Scenicraft range. The layout is fully DCC operated, with most locomotives being sound fitted. This N-gauge layout is Law Junction, exhibited by the East Neuk Model Railway Club. Law Junction is a model of the real location on the West Coast main line between Carstairs and Motherwell, where freight trains from Moss End Yard and local passenger trains via Wishaw diverge from the main line. The layout includes the freight terminal next to the junction yard and is set in the approximate period of 2003 to 2006. Most of the layout is built accurately to scale, although some compression of length has been required in the junction area. The layout shows a railway in the landscape rather than just the railway itself. Features to look out for include the buildings, all scratch built from photographs taken at the site, the overhead electrification equipment, which is non-functional in the model, and the operating colour light signals, which are controlled using modules by Heathcote Electronics. Track is Pico and the backstage fiddle yard is sectioned to allow a maximum of 30 trains in each direction. Rolling stock is a mixture of ready to run and kit built using standard N-gauge couplings. Container trains use C-rail containers, which were initially a byproduct of this layout project. Here you can view the 00 gauge layout, St George's Dock, exhibited by Alan Gray. In 1935, men had to queue up early to see if they could get work for the day. There was not so much employment to be had, and it was hard, dirty and heavy work, unloading ships by hand or labouring in the dry dock. Life was rough and uncomfortable. Food and housing were a challenge, and this is what is depicted in this layout. It was inspired by an old photograph of a steam trawler in a dry dock. The old Victorian warehouse is a cardboard kit, with the other buildings and track work scratch built. Ships are made from a variety of materials, include a collier, a coaster and a coaling ship, as well as various fishing vessels. Locos are kits or scratch built, with cardboard tramcars running up and down the street. The layout hopefully shows the rundown conditions of things in the 1930s depression. To view more exhibition layouts, click on the playlist. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.